It is 1 a.m. She just told you an hour ago that she is fine. Now she is sitting on the floor of her bathroom, back against the tub, phone face down on the tiles beside her, and for the first time in longer than she can remember, she is not performing anything for anyone. No one is watching. That is exactly why this is the only version of her that is completely true. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what happens on that night, what she actually whispers to herself in the dark, and why the version of her sitting on that floor is more real than almost anything she has ever shown you standing up. Here is the part that catches most people off guard. From the outside, that night looks like collapse. From the inside, it is closer to relief. It is the 1 hour of her week when nobody is being managed, softened for, or protected from the truth, not even herself. You have probably sensed the buildup, without ever seeing the ending. Maybe you noticed she got quieter in the days before, not upset exactly, just further away, answering in fewer words, needing more space than usual. Maybe you noticed she picked a small fight over nothing, then apologized for it too quickly, then went quiet again. What you did not see is what happens after she closes the door behind her, sits down somewhere private, and finally stops holding the shape she's been holding all day. But here's the thing almost nobody explains about that private moment. What she looks like in front of you and what she actually feels underneath rarely match. And the night she breaks is the one place those two things are finally forced to meet. If that sounds like something you want to believe just to make her distance easier to carry, stay with me. This is not comfort. It is mechanism. Understanding what actually happens on that night is the difference between mistaking her walls for the whole truth, or finally seeing what she has been protecting underneath them the entire time. To be clear, this is not a video telling you she is secretly begging to be rescued, or that showing up uninvited on one of these nights would fix anything. It almost never works that way. This is about understanding what she is actually working through, so you can recognize it later instead of only ever seeing the surface. And stay until the end, because what she actually says out loud in that room, the exact words, is not what you think. Let's get into it. For an avoidant woman, holding it together in front of other people is not really a choice. It is closer to a job she's been doing for so long that she forgot she was ever doing it at all. She learned early, somewhere, that needing too much out loud costs her something. So she built a version of herself that needs quietly, manages quietly, and only unravels in rooms with no witnesses. The night she breaks is not a crack in that system. It is the system finally being allowed to rest. That is what the breaking usually is. Not weakness finally showing through, but exhaustion finally being permitted to exist somewhere it will not be seen as too much. It happens late at night, because that is when the performance has the least demand left on it. No text to answer perfectly, no face to manage, no one left to reassure. To you, on the other side of her closed door, it might look like she disappeared into herself. To her, it is often the only hour of the week that feels honest. She is not performing calm for a coworker, not softening her tone for a friend, not filtering exhaustion into something more palatable for you. For 1 hour, there is no audience left to protect from the truth of how tired she actually is. Here is what makes it so disorienting for the people who love her. The breaking rarely comes with a clear trigger she could point to. It is not usually one bad conversation or one specific hurt. More often, it is accumulation, small moments of holding it together that quietly stacked until the weight of holding them all at once became heavier than the silence. A missed check-in she never mentioned. A comment she brushed off in the moment, but kept turning over for days. None of it was enough on its own to explain a breaking point, which is exactly why it so rarely gets explained at all. She is not thinking about a plan in that moment. She is not deciding to punish anyone with distance. She is simply, finally, too tired to keep the shape up any longer. This is where most partners go wrong in one of two directions. Some try to fix it immediately, showing up, calling, demanding access to the moment, mistaking her retreat for a problem that needs solving right then. Others read her distance as rejection and pull back completely, deciding if she needs to be alone, she must not need them at all. Neither reaction is automatically wrong, but both miss the same thing, that what she needs in that hour is rarely intervention, and it is rarely abandonment either, because here's what almost never gets said out loud. Pushing into that private moment too hard almost never earns you the closeness you are hoping for. It does not usually make her feel safer. More often, it confirms the exact fear that built the wall in the first place, that needing something openly leads to being crowded, managed, or fixed instead of simply witnessed. She ends up performing calm again just to make the intrusion stop, and the moment closes faster and harder than it would have on its own. Picture it up close. You knock. You ask if she is okay. You offer to sit with her, to talk it through, to fix whatever's wrong right now. Every one of those offers, however loving, arrives as one more thing she has to manage in a moment she finally stopped managing anything. She wipes her face, says she is fine, and the door that was cracked open by exhaustion closes again, this time on purpose. This time because being seen too soon cost more than it gave back. There is also a quieter thing happening on that night worth naming. The part she actually whispers to herself once the room goes still. It rarely sounds like blame directed outward. More often it sounds smaller than that, something closer to, I am so tired of holding this by myself, or why does needing someone always feel like a risk? Sometimes it is even quieter, just her own name, said out loud to no one, the way people speak to themselves when they finally believe no one is listening. Sometimes there is no sentence at all, just breathing, just the sound of body finally allowed to stop bracing for something. It is not a performance for anyone. It is the one moment in her whole week that is completely honest, which brings up the real question underneath all of this, not how do I stop this from happening, but what does she actually need once it does? Because there's a version of this night that becomes healing rather than isolating, one where she eventually learns to let a specific, trusted person exist quietly nearby without needing to perform for them. Someone who does not rush the door, does not demand explanation, and does not disappear either. That version does not look dramatic from the outside. It might look like nothing more than someone sitting in the next room with the television on low, present but undemanding, there without requiring anything from her in return. That version takes real time, real safety proven slowly, and it almost never happens with someone who tries to force their way into a room too early. That healed version is almost never what is happening the first several times this night repeats itself. What is usually happening instead is exactly what it looks like, a woman quietly rebuilding her own strength alone, because alone is still the only place that has ever felt fully safe. And treating that first night as a crisis to be solved rarely helps her feel closer to you. More often, it teaches her the room was never actually private after all. Here is what matters most if you love someone like this, or if you are her, sitting in that room right now. That night is not proof that she is broken beyond reach, and it is not proof that she does not want you there either. It is proof that she has been carrying something quietly for a long time, and finally reached the hour where the weight became too much to hold up in front of anyone, including herself. That is not a judgment on her. It never was. She did not fail by needing to fall apart somewhere private. She simply never learned that falling apart could be survived in front of another person without cost. So there are two honest paths forward here, and neither one requires giving up on her to choose it. If you are the one loving her, the honest path is not forcing entry into that room, and it is not disappearing from her life either. It is staying steady nearby, proving slowly over time that you will still be there in the morning without needing an explanation for the night before. It is resisting the urge to ask what happened, and instead simply asking without pressure whether she wants company or space, then respecting whichever answer she gives without keeping score of it. If you are her, the honest path is not staying silent about this forever. Telling yourself is easier to carry it alone every time. It is choosing, eventually, with someone who has actually earned it, to let the door stay open 1 inch further than it was the last time, even if it is only a sentence, even if it is only, "Tonight was hard," said out loud instead of buried. Both paths are valid. Neither one makes you weak, and neither one means the wall was pointless in the first place. Because the goal was never to force the breaking into the open before it is ready. The goal is to build something solid enough that one day, that whisper in the dark does not have to happen completely alone anymore. And that choice starts right now.